All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Len Matterman. I'm the Executive Director of the San Francisquito Creek Joint Powers Authority, or JPA. Thank you for coming to the creek to hear how local government agencies are working together to prepare for this winter's El Nino. The last El Nino in 1997 caused a historic flood in Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and East Palo Alto. 1,700 properties were damaged. A year later, these cities and the Santa Clara Valley Water District and San Mateo County Flood Control District formed the JPA because they knew they couldn't address the issues on just one side of the waterway. While the creek is a dividing line, its watershed and floodplain unites these communities. And our comments today will make that plain. Joining me with remarks are the mayors of East Palo Alto and Palo Alto, and I'll introduce them, as well as the chair of the Santa Clara Valley Water District Board, and San Mateo County Supervisor, and Menlo Park City Council member. Following their remarks, we'll be glad to answer questions. Also available to answer questions are Ruben Abrica from East Palo Alto City Council, city managers of Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and East Palo Alto, Jim Keene from Palo Alto, Alex McIntyre from Menlo Park, and Carlos Martinez from East Palo Alto. We also have Tom Rindfleisch, a resident of Palo Alto who was flooded in '98. He's been very active on this issue. And I believe East Palo Alto residents as well. Marie, do we have an East Palo Alto resident we can point to yet? Or I know somebody was coming from the doctor. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, it may seem odd that on such a sunny day, in the midst of a severe drought, we're talking about flooding. But we have to look no farther than December of 2012 to see it doesn't take an El Nino or even an average rainfall year to cause flooding. 3 months after the 2012 flood, December 2012, the JPA applied for permits to permanently protect this side of Highway 101. 30 months later, we're still working with state and federal agencies to secure those permits. But the prospect of El Nino demands that we act now to improve public safety. This begins just upstream of here, where you'll notice Caltrans is replacing the Highway 101 bridge over the creek in order to increase flow capacity to align with our projects. Our action to prepare for storms includes reducing flood risk by keeping more water in the creek. Tomorrow is the annual deadline for work in the creek that is home to endangered steelhead. Leading up to tomorrow, JPA partner agencies cut up large dead trees and removed trash, and Caltrans removed sediment in the creek, all with the idea of reducing flood risk. Also, the cities are raising creek banks in areas that previously flooded or are at risk of flooding. What you see behind us, this is sandbags encased in concrete. It's an example of a strategic raising of the creek bank to reduce flooding in an area that flooded previously, right here in December 2012. The second category of our work this year is to provide better and earlier flood warning to residents and emergency responders. Beginning today, the website sfcjpa.org/flood-warning is operational. Here's the homepage of the website. And what it shows is a Google-based map of areas that are anticipated to flood in red, and in yellow are areas that we consider flood watch, where we want people to stay alert. This will give people 2 hours warning of where we anticipate the creek to overtop and what neighborhoods would be flooded. Using a computer, smartphone, or tablet, people can sign up for text or email to alert them when the creek has reached flood watch yellow or flood warning red. They can report problems to us, download pictures of those problems, and pour through the background data that powers this effort. This new early warning system is a partnership of the JPA and City of Palo Alto. It draws upon the technical expertise of the Santa Clara Valley Water District, and it benefits from rain and stream gauges supported by the California Department of Water Resources and Stanford University. So it's truly a collaborative effort. Most importantly, it makes rain and stream flow data during big storms useful and user-friendly. During a major storm, it informs us of when and where to take action, but not what action to take. That's in the purview of emergency responders. So the third area we're working on coordination is among the emergency response community. Since the 2012 flood, agencies on both sides of the creek have been holding exercises simulating storm events. A new San Francisquito Creek multi-agency coordination team is unusual in that it crosses a county line and it involves staff from public safety, public works, utilities, public information, and the leadership of these agencies. The final coordinated action is around communications. A few examples include our 8 and growing number of sandbag stations within 2.5 miles of the creek. The poster board over there shows the sandbag locations. That's also on the JPA website, and it's also in the electronic media kit that was provided. The bilingual mailer sent to thousands of homes in both counties. Many of you have that. And we're working with certain emergency response volunteers in addition to the regular electronic communications by the cities, Santa Clara Valley Water District, San Mateo County, alert systems of these agencies. This winter we may see flooding, but we're doing all we can to reduce flood risk, provide leading edge early warning, coordinate emergency response, and communicate. All of us here from the agencies, including the speakers that I'll introduce, believe that these communities are safer because our agencies are acting together. With that, I'd like to introduce the Mayor of East Palo Alto, Lisa Garcia. Lisa.
Okay. Good morning, and I wanted to say thank you for everyone who's out today. I want to acknowledge Councilmember Ruben Abrica, who sits on the San Francisquito JPA and represents East Palo Alto. As the mayor, I extend my sincere appreciation to the San Francisquito Creek JPA, the Santa Clara Valley Water District, our neighboring communities of Menlo Park and Palo Alto, and both San Mateo and Santa Clara counties for working with us. We are very excited about the collaboration as it is through the collective efforts, shared resources, and mutual interest that East Palo Alto residents, businesses, and neighboring communities will be best prepared to weather the upcoming storms. East Palo Alto is coordinating with our JPA partners to build improvements in low-lying areas and strengthening our levees to prevent erosions. And if you have an opportunity to walk around the levee and you look past that field where this levee is, you see rooftops in East Palo Alto. We're standing here at the East Palo Alto side of the San Francisquito Creek, where in 1998 and 2012, the city of East Palo Alto Gardens and Weeks neighborhoods were overwhelmed by the force of nature known as El Nino. While my home did not flood those days, the homes of my friends and neighbors just 2 blocks from me did. It was frightening as a community. We were heavily impacted. We lost so much those days, but for every challenge comes those lessons learned and a renewed resiliency. The JPA partnership is evidence of this resiliency. Today, we'll be focusing on our collaborative effort to prepare for and reduce flooding impacts to the community by forecasted El Nino storms this winter. The city's and the JPA's partners' goal is to ensure equal protection for both sides. These improvements, we hope, will make all of us better off, will prevent the creek from overflowing, and protect our residents. Long term, the City of East Palo Alto has been working with the JPA to implement the San Francisquito Creek Phase 1 Flood Control Project. Once completed, this project will protect the Gardens neighborhood, the most vulnerable neighborhood in East Palo Alto, from 100-year flood events. This work is scheduled to happen next year. Short term, the cities of Palo Alto and Menlo Park have made improvements near Chaucer Bridge, while East Palo Alto is coordinating with the City of Palo Alto and the Santa Clara Valley Water District to build a flood protection wall along Woodland Avenue. The city continues updating and testing our Emergency Operations Center and coordinating with our community partners to ensure resources are in place if needed. The city is currently updating the city's emergency operation plan, which will increase our readiness through knowledge and training, and also better qualify the city for maximum FEMA reimbursements if needed. City staff has participated in a number of drills and other exercises in order to increase quality of city's response, and in an event we need to open our EOC. The city of East Palo Alto currently has 133 CERT members trained. Please contact Menlo Fire District if you're interested in CERT training. The more people we have trained, the better our collective response will be. The city of East Palo Alto is committed to serving all of its residents in the event we experience another flood. But preparation is key to minimizing the loss of life and property. Residents of East Palo Alto, I strongly encourage you to get ready now. Let's not wait until the rain starts. And some of the things that you can do is review your family emergency plan. Gather your emergency supplies, including water. And remember, the first 72 hours are on you. Talk to your neighbors so that you can look out for each other. Get your sandbags ready. And on October 24th, between 9 and noon, there will be sandbag filling stations at the Tara Road, our courtyard on Tara Road, and I hope to see you there. The city's primary focus is and has always been protecting its residents. Again, I thank all of our JPA partners, and I'd also like to thank the City of East Palo Alto staff and staff that are working diligently to work diligently to ensure that the residents of East Palo Alto are safe and ready for the winter storm season. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gaucher and City of East Palo Alto staff. And thank you for highlighting what local residents can do and should do in the next couple months leading up to the beginning of the rainy season. We do have a couple East Palo Alto residents that have joined us. Thank you for coming. So I'd also like to introduce now the Mayor of Palo Alto, Karen Holman. Karen.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you who've come out this morning. The crowd has grown since last I looked back, so thank you all very much. And thank you to our colleagues at East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and the JPA community. It is cooperative efforts that are so necessary for something like this to come together, and this is the result. This meeting is a culmination of those joint efforts. We know that many in our communities have been impacted in the past by flooding along the creek, and none more than the residents of East Palo Alto that Mayor Gaucher just talked about. So thank you for your additional efforts on that, on the protection of that, your own neighborhood. In Palo Alto, we experienced flooding in both 2012, and we had pockets of flooding then in low-lying areas, particularly along 101, and flooded streets in many areas. We were more significantly impacted in 1998 during that rainy season. There were 70 homes in East Palo Alto and Palo Alto that were flooded in that rainy season, and over 200 people that were evacuated as a result of that storm. We learned a lot of valuable lessons from those experiences, and frankly, things that we could do better. And that's what this effort is all about. While we can't control the rains, we can't control the weather. City Manager Keenan and I were just talking about a phrase that comes from, I think, maybe the Farmer's Almanac or something about can't do anything about the weather. But we can control our response to the weather. And in this case, the rains and very possibly El Nino. So we are committed as a city of Palo Alto and as a combined community, we are committed to being proactive and doing everything possible to reduce the risk of flooding, to support our communities, and to work with our neighborhoods to be prepared. That's why this collaborative work that's been done and is ongoing is so important. We need to be prepared to protect all of our communities. In addition to the work that Palo Alto has been doing collaboratively, we've also been on our own and collaboratively been clearing debris from the creek. We've also cleared all of our storm drains, and We have shored up an area along the Pope Chaucer Street Bridge that had an eroded berm, and Menlo Park has matched that effort on the other side. We'll also be stockpiling more sandbags than we have in the past and be monitoring that much more closely. And as was referenced earlier, we have a map over here that shows the 3 primary locations where sandbags will be available. At times we need to supplement that, and we do in the past. And I want to put a particular shout out too to Tom. There he is, Tom, because Tom is the monitor and manager, if you will, of the Crescent Park neighborhood listserv. And Tom is a great resource, and it is the kind of community involvement that really helps us as we deal with especially these kinds of issues. So thank you, Tom, very much for coming today. We encourage the community to be prepared. Check out the JPA website, which Lon had already mentioned, which is, Len had already mentioned, the sfcjpa.org/flood warning. And join Nextdoor if you haven't already, where storm updates will also be posted. Follow us on social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, and go to the city's website, www.cityofpaloalto.org/storms. And resources and updated information will be posted there on a regular basis. Our first priority has been and remains, and will continue to be, the safety of our communities and the protection of our homes. That is where we have been, and is where we continue to focus our efforts. Thank you again to all of you who have come today, and thank you most especially to our partners in this endeavor, the cities and the JPA. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Mayor Holman. So the other city that's a partner in the JPA is the city of Menlo Park. And the JPA's board has representation from each of the jurisdictions, one elected official. The elected official from Menlo Park is Kirsten Keith. Unfortunately, she is delayed due to work, and the speaker on behalf of Menlo Park is the city manager, Alex McIntyre. Alex.
Thank you. On behalf of Councilmember Keith, I do want to apologize or send her regrets. She is delayed in court, and sometimes the judge does trump city politics, so she needs to remain. Anyways, I'm really proud to be here today to talk about the partnership that we have with the Creek JPA as well as our fellow cities across the borders. I think both mayors very clearly articulated what we've done in the past and what has been done. While Menlo Park did sustain flooding in 1998, really the brunt of those floods occurred in East Palo Alto and Palo Alto, and we're very aware of that. But again, we did have some problems. But we need to coordinate and partner with those 2 cities as well as the Creek JPA and the county in order to make sure that those floodings are mitigated in the future should they occur. A few things we've done, 4 important steps we've taken as Menlo Park. In September, we did a significant creek clearing. We cleared about 1.3 miles of the city's portion of the creek. And interesting statistics, 2,700 pounds of trash were removed, 750 pounds of recyclable materials were removed, and most importantly, 9 shopping carts were removed. We've also, I think as Mayor Holman pointed out, we've been working with Palo Alto on the infamous Pope Chaucer Bridge, which tends to be one of the roadblocks perhaps roadblocks not the right term, the blockages for water trying to flow down the creek. We've done a portion, the term we use is fill the gap on our side, so hopefully waters will be better contained should there be flooding. We have actually updated our website as well in an effort to communicate with our residents and to communicate with those who may be affected. Our website is up and running. It does link to the Creek JPA website. And the idea really is to get information to our residents so that they can best be prepared. And probably lastly and most importantly, as far as our residents are concerned, there is a need to make sure that they are aware of what their role needs to be to help protect their own homes. And this year, for the first time, we've actually acquired 10,000 sandbags, which sounds like a lot for a city manager, but apparently it's not. 10,000 sandbags are actually purchased. They're on site. The sand is there at our 3 sandbag sites as well. So we will be directly communicating with our residents to make sure they are aware on how they can help protect themselves. So thank you for having Menlo Park here today. We're happy to participate, and we're glad we're a part of the JPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I think it's important to clarify so this doesn't get become one of the stories today. Councilmember Keith is in court as legal counsel for somebody else. But anyway, thank you very much, Alice. The next person I'd like to introduce is the chair of the board of directors for the Santa Clara Valley Water District, Gary Kremen. Gary. And the staff from the water district who provide such a great resource to all of these efforts.
Hey, thanks, Len. Also, thank you, Mayor Gaucher and Mayor Holman for hosting us today. I'm excited to be standing here kind of side by side with the JPA and our partners in the cities in both Santa Clara County and San Mateo County to kind of show our commitment to keeping our communities safe in this potential challenge, not only this year, but years in the future. As you know, creeks and rivers, they're not defined by city or county boundaries. They can go across boundaries. They can impact others. And that's kind of what's happening here today. We've got 3 cities that are affected. We're really all in this together. And if we work together, which we are, and this is kind of an example of it, we're going to be better equipped to meet the needs of our communities. And I know what a lot of people here are thinking, that we're in this drought. You at the water district, you've been just focusing on the drought. Why should we worry about flooding? How could that be possible? Well, it is not only possible, it's probable. In fact, likely it's going to happen. The ground's extremely dry, just look at it right here. And instead of absorbing water right away, it kind of has this consistency that the water is going to can run off into streams and creeks very quickly and cause stream levels to rise quickly and cause flooding. And among those in Santa Clara County that's most at risk is San Francisquito Creek, actually right almost where we are here and in some other places all along it, very vulnerable to flooding. A lot of potential damages, people's lives. As you can see on the East Palo Alto side, many homes are below the grade. We know what's happened in 1998 and almost happened in 2012, and that has to be top of our mind. On the Palo Alto side, properties were damaged, and they were far away. They weren't just on the creek boundary, they were a good distance away. Hydrology is complex, and a lot of challenges because of it. So us at the Water District, we're really working on capital improvements, long-term flood protection stuff that will provide 100-year flood protection. Around 57 homes in both Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and Palo Alto. We were fortunate enough that the voters approved in 2012 on the Santa Clara side in our Safe Clean Creek and Natural Flood Protection Program money for this. So that's good news. There's money there. And we are Santa Clara's flood management agency, and our mission is to do this. So we're really excited about taking a holistic, natural approach to not only doing short-term projects, but long-term and seasonal work in the creeks. In the past few months, our crews have been in the creeks along with the cities and getting them ready, trimming overgrown plants, reinforcing the banks, levees to get ready for potential and probable high floods this winter season. And we're also preparing for the worst. We're really doing some drills. We've got our emergency responders ready. So I'm totally committed to personally to being sure we don't have as many challenges as we had in the past. So we're grateful to the people who live close to the creek and the neighborhood associations for telling us where there's problems and helping us address the stuff before. So you probably know from some of the papers that were handed out, there's some phone numbers to call. But our phone numbers are 415-630-2650 if you see something blocking. You could also text the word water to 8444, or you can call me on my cell phone if you see something at 415-305-3052. Other good things we've done is we're getting some supplemental funding from the Water District to get some more sandbags to help the cities and potentially get some people resources to help fill sandbags, help deliver them to maybe older people who can't pick up or fill a sandbag themselves. That's coming up on the 27th, and any letters of support would be appreciated, but I think I'm going to get that done and help people stock up and have those sandbags before the major storm hits. So again, we're doing everything possible we can, and feel free to talk to me or the staff who work really hard if you have any additional questions. Thanks for your time.
Great, thank you, Gary. Staff. The other member of the JPA is San Mateo County, which has a county-wide flood control district, and the County Board of Supervisors runs the county-wide flood control district, and the member of the Board of Supervisors that's also on the JPA board is Dave Pine. So he's our final speaker, and then we'll talk about questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Len. Also with me today is Jim Porter, our Director of Public Works. So I've served on the San Francisquito Creek JPA for about 3 years now. And one thing I've learned is there's nothing simple about this creek. It has an enormous basin, it has a 100-year-old dam upstream, it has sensitive baylands when it enters the bay. It has tremendous development in the urban areas. It has a series of bridges. So it's a very complicated challenge to deal with flooding and for the JPA to take long-term steps to improve the safety for residents. And traditionally, this challenge has really been compounded by the fact there's so many jurisdictions that touch the creek or have some responsibility for the creek. But in this instance, there has really been unprecedented cooperation by the agencies involved. I would be surprised if there's ever been more preparation done in advance of a storm season than we've seen over the last few months. San Mateo County is a full partner in this effort as a member of the Joint Powers Authority, and of course, also representing all of San Mateo County here that abuts the creek. And our role has consisted of a couple things. We've been involved in clearing the creek in areas where we have easements. And we've also played a big role in preparing for emergencies, both our Office of Emergency Response and in working with all the agencies to put together a mutual aid agreement so that if there are challenges, we are well organized and ready to backfill each other to provide the best services possible. So I think the residents of the area should be very proud of the efforts that have been undertaken and the level of cooperation. And it's a really good example of how agencies can come together. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Dave and Jim. Now I'd like to just remind everyone that there's an electronic media kit that you probably received already. There's going to be a post-release sent out that has a link to that kit in case you don't have that. Sandbag filling stations are in that image, and they're in the electronic media kit. And everyone who you saw come up here today is available to talk. The speakers and the staff that support all of these agencies. So I'll open it up for questions, if there are questions, and I think some of you may have kind of one-on-one interest in discussions. I also want to mention Spencina Sims joined us from East Palo Alto, and she and her husband Curtis, their home, just right over here, have been flooded before, and most recently in 2012, and so she has a lot of great stories to tell, and we appreciate her perseverance in sticking with us and watching this process move forward. So she's also available in addition to Tom Renfleisch, as I mentioned. So are there any questions at this time that the whole group may benefit from?
I wanted to know, if you would have had this barrier in 2012, it would have prevented what happened again?
What we believe is the answer is yes. That this barrier is about 18 inches high, and that it's very unlikely that a higher column of water went over this levee at this location at this time. We can't be sure of that. We can't be sure exactly how high the water was when it came over, but we believe that this barrier would have prevented it, and that in that way, East Palo Alto, this part of East Palo Alto is better off now than it was 3 years ago. There are other measures East Palo Alto is taking and looking at taking that will increase, or I should say, further reduce the risk to residents of East Palo Alto, and this is one of them that they've obviously already done 2 years ago.
And could you put the 2012 storm in context as far as, the scale of it in relation to the 9798 event?
So the question was about how the 2012 storm compares to 1997, 1998. The flood of February 3rd, 1998 was the flood of record, which means it was the biggest flood that's ever been measured. I guess at the level of technical I'll get on this question is that it had about 7,200 cubic feet per second coming down the stream from areas upstream in the hills. And the flood in 2012, as opposed to 7,200 cubic feet per second, was about 5,400 cubic feet per second. So it was not as big. It was the third largest flow we've ever seen. It was the third largest flow that we've seen since we've been measuring flows starting in 1930. So it was a very large flow. I mean, it was, and what that showed us, we already knew it, but it confirmed that this creek is flashy and means it rises very quickly, and it's not something that we have days and weeks to try to prepare for. It can happen at a moment's notice, and that's one of the reasons that we worked on this early warning website so much, is because we wanted to have as much warning as we could, and 2 hours warning is better than what we had before, and we wanted it to be something that it's obvious to anybody who comes on the website where the issue is and if there's trouble. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is the work that's currently being done for the bridge, would that impede the water change, any flood waters that might come down at this point? Would it block them or enhance it either way?
So the question is about the Caltrans work and how it relates to the flows coming down. I'm wondering if somebody else wants to take that. Kevin, do you want to try? Will there be any immediate effect, positive or negative, I'm assuming, of the Caltrans work as it stands right now? Let me just say who this is. It's Kevin Murray. He's our project manager for the JPA.
When Caltrans finishes its construction in summer, they will have to shore up the project so that no more water can pass by until the downstream area is prepared. So once future projects are built.
What about, I think the question was more like this winter, what's the impact of what's happening?
There won't be any real benefit this year, not until Caltrans completes its work in 2017.
But it'll pass the same amount of water, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
The one small benefit is, and it's not in a sense a capital construction benefit, but as part of the project, Caltrans cleaned out several feet of sediment that were built up under the bridge over the last several years. And so if you can imagine that a mound of sediment underneath the bridge reduces the flow capacity under the bridge, and that's what occurred. So we're slightly better off in terms of less flooding on the freeway or backing up of water beyond the freeway. Yes?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Miss Sims. I would like to know, I understand that there's a pump over there, and in '98, I understand when they turned the pump on, it didn't work properly. So is that going to be a problem this year? I'm not sure what happened in 2012 because we was gone. So will there be a problem with the pump over there this time?
So let me have City of Palo Alto engineer Joe Teresi address the pump station question.
And the new and improved pump station.
Hi. My name is Joe Cerisi. I'm a senior engineer with the City of Palo Alto Public Works. There's a pump station that Ms. Sims referred to across the creek. It pumps stormwater from the City of Palo Alto into the creek. That pump station was not there in 1998, so it didn't exist. That was built in around 2004. And I also wanted to add that we're aware that that pump station, by pumping water from the city streets into the creek, could exacerbate flooding. So we have an agreement with the city of East Palo Alto that once the water in the creek reaches a critical level, the pump station will be shut off and will not be adding water from Palo Alto streets into the creek. So that's another example of the cooperation between our two agencies, and is a safety factor to reduce the possibility that that pump station could induce any flooding. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Last one.
Sure.
Just to clarify for our viewers, your information is that we're gonna have flooding with any amount of rain that we have this year with El Niño. I mean,
No, I would not say that. What I would say is we're watching the same meteorological information that everybody else watches from the National Weather Service and other agencies. And as time goes on this year, it looks more and more likely that we'll see a lot of rain, but there are no guarantees. As I mentioned, the flood of record caused flooding. The third largest flood caused flooding. Certainly what we're hoping is that the measures that we've taken and are taking still between now and the rains will reduce the risk of flooding under large events. There's no question we could see an event that causes flooding, and there's almost nothing that we can do about it at this point, the possibility of flooding. But we can do everything we can, which is the combination of all these issues, of all these actions, reducing flood risk, giving people early warning, beefing up our emergency response coordination and capability, and communicating with the public. All of those things together will make this a better winter than otherwise it would have been. And certainly we're better off than we were in 2012 when there was a flood.
but when you say flooding, you mean houses that are gonna be flooded?
Well, we've seen in the past, in 2012 and 1998, we've seen houses flooded. And our highest priority, flood risk is not just about the threat of water, it's also about what's being threatened. And our highest priority is protection of houses and lives. And so where we're looking to do our protection is in areas that are at risk and that are houses, yes. So there's a possibility houses will be flooded, and our focus in terms of reducing risk is in those locations.
How many houses are we talking about? Around?
Well, in the past, we saw hundreds and hundreds of houses. As we said, in 1998, it was over 1,500 properties that were damaged. So the possibility is great, but it's hard to say, not knowing exactly what the weather will bring. How many houses will be at risk. Any other questions? Okay, so you've been introduced to some of the people here. If you have follow-up questions with specific individuals, please ask. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming, and please access the other resources that were made available. Thank you.